Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhaktivinoda.
Continuing our reading of Sri Caitanya Charitamrita Madhya-lila, chapter 19, entitled The Lord Instructs Srila Rupa Goswami. Text number 204, hopefully.
Yeah.
I think we got up to 203.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we had a little bit of confusion last time about Rukmini,
Yeah.
whether that was illustrating the Kevala, the pure love, or whether it was illustrating the Aishvarya Jnana Mishra, or in reverence. And we concluded, right, that
Yeah.
actually it was an example of the awe and reverence. You brought up that good point that how she got attracted to Krishna in the first place was that all the sages were narrating about Krishna's opulences, his Aishvarya. That, you know, so she knew from the beginning that he was Bhagavan, like that. So definitely she had that. And that when this pastime illustrated in 202, as Krishna was joking with her that he was going to leave her, that he wasn't good enough for her, and she should have married someone else that was better than him. So he was joking like that, but she took it seriously, and how she responded was with fear. So what I realized too, the more we talked about it, was that was an Aishvarya Jnana response. Because if it was a Kevala response, like I mentioned, she would have responded more like Radharani. So Radharani would have got angry. Because, you know, when you have an intimate relationship like that, you're not going to be afraid of the person, your lover, but beloved or lover. You might get angry or upset with them, but you're not going to be afraid. Yeah.
So that means Satyabhama,
Yeah.
her nature was a bit feisty, right?
Mm.
So do you think her
Mm.
she was in a Kevala or not necessary? But she was
So that's the interesting point. So she's bringing up the point of another queen named Satyabhama. So she was one of the first of the 16,108 wives of Krishna. Rukmini was number one. She was the first one. But then Satyabhama was in the next group of eight that got, seven that got married to Krishna. So that pastime was that there was another king who was also involved with the Yadu dynasty named Satyajit. And it's mentioned in 10th Canto Bhagavatam and also in the Krishna book. Prabhupada summarized it there. So it's called in the Krishna book, it's called the story of the Shamantaka jewel. So this King Satyajit, he was a great devotee of Suryadeva, and Suryadeva was pleased with him and gave him a jewel called the Shamantaka jewel. And that jewel was very beautiful, very attractive, very big. And it produced every day, when it was worshipped by Paka Brahmanas, it produced so much gold. I can't remember how many pounds of gold every day, but it produced so much gold. So whoever possessed it, like the Satyajit, would become very rich. And people, and when he would carry it around, because it's so bright, you know, because it comes from the sun god, so it's a really dazzling, bright jewel. So when he would carry that around Dwarka, everyone thought the sun god was walking around, but it was actually King Satyajit. but because he carried the jewel, it made him look like the sun god. So anyway, he became very attached to this jewel. And then some of the residents of Dwarka said they were promoting that this is such a nice jewel, it should belong to Krishna. You know, Krishna, he's the top person. It should be given to him. Why is this ordinary king having this nice jewel? It should be given to Krishna. So Satyajit knew that that was what the word that was going around, the rumors that it should go there. So he thought that Krishna wanted the jewel. So shortly afterwards, his brother, Satyajit's brother, had borrowed the jewel from Satyajit, and he went to the forest hunting. And when he was out in the forest, one lion knocked over his horse and killed the horse and killed him. And then and took the jewel. And then this lion took the jewel. And then one bear named Jambavan, who was also in Lord Ram's Leela, famous Jambavan. So he was living a very long time due to being blessed by being a devotee of Ram. And this Jambavan killed that lion in the forest and took the jewel. And he wasn't attracted to the jewel. He's a devotee of Ram. He doesn't care about it, but he gave it to his kid to play with as a toy for his kid. So then everyone went looking for Satyajit's brother. Where has he gone? And eventually they found the dead horse and him and no jewel. So then Satyajit speculated that, just see, Krishna killed him to get the jewel. So then Satyajit spread that rumor around Dwarka that Krishna has killed his brother to get and stolen the jewel. So then Krishna was upset that, that he's being criticized for something he hasn't done. So he wanted to correct that, blot on his name. And it's also part of the pastime. So he went out searching. And eventually he found a cave, a big hole in the ground. And he went in there and he told everyone else, because it's looking a bit dangerous. So everyone else, you stay here. And then he went in by himself. And eventually he found Jambavan's kid playing with Jewel. And there was a nurse looking after the kid. And when the nurse saw Krishna, who was a stranger there, then she screamed. And then Jambavan came running. And then a fight started between Jambavan and Krishna. And Jambavan was the strongest living entity on earth at that time. So they fought for 1 day, 2 days. It went, I think, for 28 days continuously, day and night. And then, like after the 28th day, he was getting tired. And then he couldn't defeat Krishna. And then he was thinking that I'm the strongest living entity. There's no one's as strong as me. There's only one person stronger than me. That's Ram. Now, he knew God was stronger than him. So then the idea came in his mind, and because of all that suffering of being pummeled by Krishna, that had reawakened his God consciousness more due to that suffering and that like we've talked about before, suffering brings about humility, and then that humility one calls out to God and remembers God. So he had actually become a little bit intoxicated due to his strength and become proud of his strength and proud of the jewel and all these kind of things. So that had like covered over his consciousness, because as a devotee of God, he should have known that that was God, but his consciousness was a bit covered over. But due to being pummeled by the Lord and that humility came up, then he thought, this must be Ram. This must be another form of Ram. this must be God. So when he thought that, then all of his broken limbs and his bruises and pain and suffering and his tiredness went away. And then he offered prayers to Krishna and, apologized and everything like that. And he said, here, you take the jewel. And he felt bad that he had fought the Lord like that. So he said, here, you take my daughter. So he also gave his daughter Jambavati. So Jambavati became one of Krishna's wives. So Krishna took the jewel back to Dwarka plus a beautiful wife. And you might think, well, why would Krishna marry a female bear? But surprisingly, although the father had the form of a bear, but the daughter had the form of a beautiful woman. So Jambavati wasn't looking like a bear. She was looking like a human woman. How that works exactly, I don't know. It doesn't mention those details. But it's quite common. You'll read in the Srimad Bhagavatam, probably you did, that, great sages, and they produce a child that's not the same species. So it goes the other way too, that the human parent might produce a non-human, like that child. And that's, we've got 8,400,000 species. How did those non-human species come about? Actually, a lot of them came about, how they were created, those forms, was from great sages. And, we call them Prajapatis. So Prajapati means like progenitor, or what do you call it? Just they're pumping out kids. That's their duty, their role. No, that's Manu. Yeah. So they're Prajapatis. So, and some of their children would be like, one of them, I can't remember who it was, Kashyapa or something. He was the father of snakes and lizards, and, one was the father of trees and so forth. So, sometimes they would produce non-human children. And like this, in this case, it's the other way around. It's like a non-human parent producing a human child. So that, but what I can say is they're greatly powerful beings. They have so many abilities and powers beyond ours. So we shouldn't be surprised, because some of them can, even like these sages can, even like, we know, you would have read the pastime of Kapila Dev's father, Kardama Muni, probably that you read that in the 3rd canto, and married to Devahuti. So he was feeling embarrassed that, his wife was a princess, but she was living in very simple conditions, and serving him very austerely, and she wasn't looking after herself, and he didn't really look after him. He was absorbed in his worship and that. So he felt he'd neglected her as a wife. So then he produced this flying planet, this kind of city, a city that flew, and they flew all over the universe. So what I'm saying is, these sages, they can do whatever they like. And, we know there's asta cities, the yogis have asta cities, so they have 8 different kinds of perfections. So they can even create planets. There's one of them, I can't remember what it's called. I think it's called Kamayavasita or something city. That whatever they desire, they can just have it. Whatever they want, whatever comes in their mind. Okay, I want to have a horse, a pink horse that flies, so they can have that, or whatever. So whatever they desire, they can have that. So it's not surprising. So anyway, Jambavan had a human, like, beautiful daughter. So Krishna took her back and the jewel. And then he gave the jewel back to Satyajit. And Satyajit, he was happy to get the jewel back, but he felt really bad that he had falsely accused Krishna of killing his brother. His brother's name was Prashena. Prashena. Yeah, Prashena. And so he felt bad, because that is a really sinful thing, to falsely accuse someone of something they didn't do. That's really bad. That's very sinful. So he felt bad, and how am I going to atone for that, repent? So he he offered the jewel to Krishna, but Krishna said, "Keep it. I don't want it." And then, Satyajit gave his beautiful daughter Satyabhama. So that's why we're telling the story. So he gave Satyabhama to Krishna, and Krishna accepted her. Krishna accepted her, and she is said to be an incarnation of Radharani. She's an expansion. She's like an expansion of Radharani. So that comes back to what Jayanti said, that sometimes Satyabhama would get angry at Krishna, because that was also that Radharani's mood, that sometimes, if she would get upset. And whereas Rukmini's mood was completely different. She would go like this way, very afraid, and lots of awe and reverence and fear and everything. And she would never criticize or complain or anything to Krishna like that. And it's said that Rukmini is an expansion of another gopi in Vrindavan called Chandravali. So Chandravali, she was the head of a group of gopis that are very submissive. They're always very submissive to Krishna, and they'll never argue with Krishna or anything. But Radharani, she is the chief of the gopis that would, challenge Krishna and get upset and cry and all this kind of stuff like that and get angry and that. So, and Krishna enjoys both. That's why Krishna is behind both groups. He likes tasting all different flavors like that.
So, given that Chandravali is also in Goloka Vrindavan.
Yeah.
So to get to Goloka Vrindavan, you need Kevala Bhakti. Because you can't be in Goloka. I mean, you can't be in Vrindavan. So then that means then how come if she's got that Aishwarya Jnana Bhav, how come she's there? I'm confusing myself.
No, but see, the expansions in Dwarka, the expansions in Dwarka, they know he's Bhagavan. But the original gopis like Radharani and Chandravali and all their groups in Vrindavan, they don't know he's God. They don't have that Aishwarya. However, they have a mood, Chandravali's group have that mood of being submissive. So submissive doesn't mean they know he's God. Submissive means that's just their mood. They don't want to fight with him. They'll just do whatever he says and like that, and they're not going to argue. But whereas Radharani's group also doesn't think he's God, but they will argue, so there is. But in Dwarka, they know he's God, like that.
Yeah.
So when we say expansion, that means it can be different. So in this case, Satyabhama, she's in Dwarka, but you're saying she's expansion of Chandravali. She is in Vrindavan. So expansion can be
No,
different.
expansion of Radharani.
Yeah,
Satyabhama. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So-
Rukmini's expansion of Chandravali. Yeah. Yep. So that original form is in Vrindavan and expands into that form in Dwarka. Just like Krishna's in Vrindavan, we talked about that just previously. And then he expands into Vasudev with 4 arms. And then he goes to Mathura and Dwarka. So we think that Krishna's in Mathura and Dwarka, but if you technically want to explain it perfectly, correctly, and in detail, we would say that Vasudev Krishna is in Mathura, and then he went to Dwarka. And the original Krishna is only in Vrindavan. In one sense, it's not wrong to say Krishna went to Mathura and Krishna went to Dwarka and Krishna married all the queens. But that's just the overall picture. But the detailed is that's Vasudev Krishna. Which, in one sense, also you can say that Vasudeva Krishna is not really different than Krishna. He's just an expansion of Krishna. So but you can't. It's like Paramatma and Brahman. They're all part of the same. What is God? Bhagavan, Paramatma, and Brahman.
What
Three
is the
different aspects of God. You can't really separate Brahman from Paramatma from Bhagavan. They're all part of the same. Like we've given the example, the sun god, the sun planet, and the sunshine. All together, that's the sun. You can't separate sunshine from the sun planet and the sun planet from the sun god. They're all part of the same subject. It's called Advaya Gyan. It's all absolute truth. So the absolute truth has three aspects: Bhagavan, Paramatma, and Brahman. It's the same. You can't really separate Vasudeva Krishna from Krishna like that.
So in terms of expansion, I mean, so what I mean is that you account that as in Leela? I mean, he's doing something to teach us or something. It's because that he's expanding into different characters. Like one character, in the movie, you have one character, same person is playing different characters.
Yeah,
Similar
yeah, you could look at it like that. That's a good example. That's a really good example.
so
Yeah,
it's
so it's all for pleasure. It's all Leela, like you said, Leela. So what's the Leela for? It's for pleasure. And also the Leela is also teaching
teaching.
us, living entities, different lessons. I mean, that's why God comes to the world, right? To attract us back to Godhead, to give us lessons, instructions, and so forth. And he enjoys, having pastimes with his devotees.
Mm,
And because he has so many devotees, then he has to expand also, to be with them all at the same time. Like Krishna, Vasudeva expanded himself to be with all of his wives at the same time.
mm,
Can you see that there's a practical example of what a benefit of expanding is? Because he's one person, but he's got 16,108 wives. And it's not going to be very satisfying if he just remains one person. So he expands himself into 16,108 forms of Vasudeva to be with each family at the same time. To reciprocate with devotees, he's expanding, and that they have different desires. The different devotees have different desires, so he'll expand in these different forms with different moods and everything like that, to fulfill the desires of different devotees as well. And he also wants to taste, he wants to taste different flavors like that. So he will taste it. And Krishna and Vrindavan's tasting some flavors there, rasa, and then he'll taste a different flavor, rasa and Mathura, and different in Dwarka, with different devotees there in those places. They all have different moods and everything like that. So he's tasting all these different flavors and these different forms like that.
mm.
Variety. The more we get into Krishna consciousness, you realize just incredible variety, so much variety there. And we're just a tiny part of God. And we know that by, if we look at our own nature, that we also enjoy variety. We enjoy variety.
And this also
And
shows, all the opulences, to the normal people, people or jivatmas like normal, to show him that what God can do, what he can do. He can be at two places at the same time or three places, and he can be anything.
yeah,
That shows his kind of, he's much superior than us. He can do so many things and things
yeah,
like that.
yeah. But the principle, we can even see that in our own life, that we like variety. And of
Mm.
course, God is so much greater than us, so he has unlimited variety. But even like our friends that came, right? They enjoyed, going to a different place. It's variety, right? They're always in Auckland, so they came out of Auckland, came to where we are. It's something different. They enjoyed that difference. And also we give them different food than they eat rice dal sabji at home. So we were thinking, let's give them some different food. So we made lasagna one day, and they really enjoyed that. It's something different, and they don't normally have lasagna and salad and stuff like that. So we made different sweets and different savories and different things. and they just enjoy that variety. And it's like different scenery here. It's the countryside. They live in the city. So we all like that variety. We enjoy, that. So God, where do we get that from? God. God enjoys having all that variety, different devotees and different moods and different places and all these things. So it's not hard to conceive of, understand. We just relate it to our own lives. But you just got to multiply that unlimitedly because Krishna's so great. And we're just a tiny person, and he's the greatest person. Mm. Mm. Nice. Okay, so the last one we read, yeah.
Mm.
So the last one we read was talking about the principle that in 203, the principle that in the Kevala, the pure love, the devotee does not consider the unlimited opulence of Krishna. Even though he experiences it, he takes seriously only his relationship with Krishna. So this is talking about a particular philosophy or principle that even though the devotee sees something indicating the greatness of Krishna, but it doesn't affect that pure love. So now in this one we're going to read today, 204, is going to give an example of that. What's an example of that principle? That although you experience the opulence of Krishna, but he doesn't take it seriously. He's only cares about that personal relationship with Krishna, not about who is Krishna, that he's great or powerful. So doesn't take that seriously. So now, what's an example? We can read that. So this is a Sanskrit verse from 10th Canto Bhagavatam. Traya Chopanishadscha
Traya cha Upanishadbhischa
Sankhya Yogaischa Sattvatoi
Sankhyogesha cha Sattvate
Upagiyamana Upagiyamana Mahatmyam.
Upagiyamana Mahatmayam
Harim Samanyatatmajam
Harim Samniyatatmacham. When the mother Yashoda saw all the universe within Krishna, all the universes within Krishna's mouth, she was astonished for a time being. The Lord is worshipped like Indra and other demigods by the follower of three Vedas who offer him sacrifices. He is worshipped as impersonal Brahman by saintly person, understand his greatness through studying up Upanishads, and as Purusha by the great philosophers who analytically study the universe, as the all-pervading supersoul by great yogis, and as the supreme personality of Godhead by the devotees. Nevertheless, Mother Yashoda considered the Lord Son.
Mm. So we've talked about this pastime before.
Yeah.
So this is an interesting one. It's although in one sense the Lord is the same person, but just in this verse we can see how the Lord is perceived differently by different persons.
Mm.
So how is the Lord perceived by the demigods? What's their mood, their interaction with the Lord, the demigods and the followers of the Vedic followers?
That's basically awe and reverence, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, and they worship him. It's mentioned the Lord is worshipped. So they obviously see him as, greatly powerful and worshipable as their Lord. So they worship him. So the Vedic followers and the demigods, they worship him as their boss, and and those sages that study the Upanishads, so they're impersonalists. They perceive the Lord as impersonal Brahman. So that's the Brahma Jyoti, the light. So that's how they perceive God as all-pervading light, impersonal Brahman. And the Gyanis perceive the Lord as the Purusha. So Purusha means like the creator of the universe, as the creator of the universe. Purusha. You have there's different kinds of avatars. I think we've talked about it before. There's 6 different kinds of avatars. So one of them is the Purusha avatars. So Purusha avatar means like Mahavishnu. There's 3 of them: Mahavishnu, Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, and Saradakashaya Vishnu. So they're known as the Purusha avatars. So they are like the cause of the creation of the universe and maintaining the universe also. So the Gyanis, they have that understanding. And the yogis, they perceive the Lord as the super soul, Paramatma. And Mother Yashoda, how does she perceive the Lord? As her son. As her son. So, the Lord is perceived in many, many ways, depending on the particular individual's realization and their desires also. What is their desire and they have a different realization, according to their desire and a different path they've taken. So, someone on that path of bhakti, pure bhakti, Kevala bhakti, like Mother Yashoda, sees the Lord just as her child. But someone that's taken up the path of jnana or karma or yoga, has a different realization of the Lord. So the following the, like Ashtanga yoga system, they'll have that Paramatma realization. And Jnana yoga system, they'll have that Brahman, realization like that. And the demigods, awe and reverence that he's God, like that. So they awe and reverence and everything. And then it's mentioned here that so she looked in Krishna's mouth and she was astonished for the time being. So for a very short time, she was confused when she saw the universe in Krishna's mouth, but just for a short time. And then it's mentioned in the short purport that those who are spiritually advanced forget Krishna's opulence by the mercy of Yoga Maya. So that's how she was able to overcome that confusion, thinking, wow, is this really my son? Maybe it's more than my son. Maybe he's God. So Yoga Maya covered over that awe and reverence that came up in her, that fear, that confusion that she might have felt seeing the universe inside a child's mouth. So Yoga Maya immediately made her forget. Very quickly she forgot due to the influence of Yoga Maya. And like I said, Krishna doesn't want that Kevala, that devotee that's on that Kevala Bhakti platform to become like a, Aishvarya Jnana, like that. He wants them to keep that like that. He wants them to keep like that. And he knows also that that's what they want. They have that desire. Just I want to have Krishna as my child. I don't want to see Krishna as God. I want to see Krishna as my child. So he knows what they want, and he'll allow them to think like that. And also he wants that too. He wants to have that intimate, sweet relationship like that. And just like I said, we don't just want to only have business relationships. We want to have, which are very formal, but we also want to have family, that we have very, intimate relationship without all that formality and like that. So we also like that. Like the guy that came here, he's an IT expert, and he works very hard. He said he works more than 60 hours a week. So he works 6 days a week, 60 hours a week. And he's a bit fizzled with that. He wanted a change. He hardly ever goes on holiday. So he really enjoyed just a complete change from that, and we just had very nice, sweet relationship and like that, no, and just forget about all that working kind of environment like that. And it was a real recharge for him. So Krishna also likes that. He doesn't want to just only deal with everyone thinking that he's God and, oh God, can you give me this? God, can you give me that? He just wants to play with devotees and have loving exchanges, and just like we enjoy getting back from work and being with our family and just forget about all that and just have a nice time. Does that make sense? Do you want to say anything about that?
Yeah, just no, I think it totally makes sense, I guess. I was thinking from the perspective as well, since my Yashoda's first relationship with Krishna, first time you see somebody, you have make an impression. You have some kind of relationship you develop with him. So first relationship was like my son, you know. So anything extraordinary happens after that, she probably will ignore. Oh, that's because of Krishna's, Maya, as you said. But in current world or material world, when you see somebody and then you talk to them and then you create certain kind of relationship or impression, and then if somebody says something or do something you see in a certain different thing, you still have the first impression quite deep inside you. So, oh, yeah, this person was doing that, how can he do that, or kind of thing. I mean, I'm just trying to relate it, just like Rukmini. The first thing she saw is raw, just she heard about opulences of Krishna and how beautiful he is. So first impression also, I mean, that's Krishna's created thing, or the way the mind works, basically. So first impression takes priority. And in this case, mother and child relationship, obviously she's going to ignore, it's just, but all that is because of the yoga. That's the system, that's the thing created by Krishna. I mean. But I think the first impression also makes a lot of sense. If you have spent, say, 5-10 years with somebody, he'll create some kind of impression, and then if he does something out of his character, it will hard to believe or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes. I mean, that's part of it. I mean,
yeah, no, that's good points, relating it to our lives. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think
and we shouldn't think though that the ultimate power is Yoga Maya. In one sense it is, but Yoga Maya is actually there to render service to the Lord and to the devotee by Yoga Maya's service to Krishna is making Krishna forget that he's God. And Yoga Maya's service to the devotee is making the devotee forget that Krishna's God. But we might think, oh, well, Yoga Maya is like God. Yoga Maya is controlling everyone. But no, she's doing that as a service. And Krishna has given her that power to even make him forget that he's God. So she's not doing that independently from Krishna's, sanction and direction. You know what I mean? It's not like she has escaped Krishna's service and now she's so strong that she can even control Krishna. No, that she's working under, what Krishna wants. Krishna wants to forget his own, power and opulence and just think that he's just a little scared kid. and he's running away from his mum who's chasing him with a stick. And when she's chasing him with a stick, he's actually afraid. He's not just pretending that he's afraid, he's actually afraid. Due to that influence of Yoga Maya, making him forget that he's all-powerful, strong Bhagavan, he actually feels fear. And he likes to taste that.
Yeah, but in certain scenarios like Putana, he killed Putana, right? So in that scenario, he didn't forget that he's God or something. Or in the case he lifted Govardhan Parvat, he didn't forget that part. So I just a bit contradicting.
That's interesting. That I know it sounds contradictory, but actually it's mentioned in a lot of those pastimes that he did for some time get confused what to do. and then he has different shaktis. So one of them is Jnana Shakti, the knowledge Shakti. So then the Jnana Shakti will remind him that he's God and he can lift the mountain and he can. And even it's actually mentioned in the Aghasura, like if you know the big snake demon Aghasura, that when his cowherd friends walked into his mouth, Aghasura's mouth, and it said momentarily that Krishna was confused what to do. But then he remembered, due to his different shaktis reminding him that he's God and he can just deal with this demon. And then what did he do? When he realized what to do, he walked into the mouth also, and then he expanded himself. He expanded himself inside the demon's mouth, and then the demon basically exploded due to Krishna's swelling up inside. But yeah, in that pastime, it actually mentions that momentarily he was confused until he remembered that he was God. Okay. So this is because he has like a Leela Shakti, and in that Leela Shakti, sometimes it's not favorable. It's going to spoil the pastime if he's always thinking that he's God. Like when he's having the Leela playing with his cowherd boyfriends, it's going to spoil it if he's always remembering that he's God. You know, he has to feel and think that he's equal to them. Because friend means equal. So if he's always thinking that he's greater than them, it's going to mess up the pastime. It's going to mess up his enjoyment. So yeah, he's going in and out. He's going in and out of forgetfulness that he's God and remembrance that he's God. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, it's actually, it's like what
Caitanya just said it's pretty mind-boggling, and it is because, and it's beyond our mind and senses. And actually, this next verse that we're reading next has actually got Krishna's name, Adhokshaja, in the second line, which the meaning of Adhokshaja is in the word for word, beyond the perception of the senses. So that's what we actually realize, that we can't fully understand what's going on with Krishna because he's Adhokshaja. He's beyond our perception of our mind and senses. And aksha means eyes. Means eyes. Aksha, eyes. Adhokshaja means that perception of the eyes gets pushed down. Adha means down, downwards. So all the power of our seeing in our eyes, and because that's the main way we get knowledge, right, is through our eyes. You know, you see something, you can see around you and you have knowledge of what's around you. So that's one of the main ways we get gyan, knowledge, is through our eyes. But that power of us getting knowledge through our eyes, that's pushed down in terms of God. He's beyond that power of our eyes. So he's Adhokshaja. all of our such limited powers of perception of our mind and our senses are just insignificant. They're nowhere near powerful enough to comprehend the greatness of Krishna's opulences and power, mystic powers and everything like that. So yeah, it's very humbling, So how does the devotee deal with that? Do we think, oh, I can't fully understand God, so I can't be bothered, this I don't want to go down this path, because I can't fully understand him, so yeah, I'm not interested anymore. I lose interest. No, not like that. But the devotee he deals with it in terms of humility, that Krishna's so great, I'm so small, so it's not surprising that because I'm so small, I can't understand a subject that's just so unlimited. I'm very limited and Krishna's very unlimited. So yeah, that makes sense. I'm not going to be able to fully understand, maybe 0.1% or 1% or 10% or whatever, but never 100%. We're not going to understand. And we don't freak out or become upset because it's not going to be 100%, because we're not proud thinking we should know 100%. We're humble, that we're very small and Krishna's very great. And that way, actually that lack of understanding that we have can actually increase or accelerate our devotion, our love. That we realize just how small we are and just how great he is. That if we could 100% understand God, that's really minimizing God's position, and it's really maximizing our position. It means over maximizing, you know, how big do we think we are? That if are we so big that we can understand God? Actually, we're not. So that's completely illusory or deluded if we think that, I have to completely understand everything 100%. Otherwise, no, I'm not going to do this, because I can't understand it 100%. No, that's a false, mentality due to false ego, false pride, that we think it has to be 100%. And materially, with false ego, we want to have that 100% knowledge, 100% realization. But yeah, in spiritual life, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. Actually, the only way we can understand Krishna is not by our own mind, our own intelligence, our own senses, but by his mercy. So this path is completely different. Like if you're going to do your MBA and all your BSc and all your academic things, it's all by your endeavor, your efforts, and you think, I have a good brain, I can study really well and everything like that, and then we're going to become successful due to all our endeavors and efforts. But in spiritual life, it's completely the opposite. That all of our efforts and our endeavors and our senses, our mind, everything is not good enough, is insignificant, and it's no value, not really helpful. But what we really need to do is just completely surrender to the Lord and try to please him. And in that feeling of complete utter helplessness and humility, then he becomes attracted by that mood of attitude of humility, and then he enlightens us. He enlightens us, and that way we progress. But if we think by our intelligence and everything, it's going to work. It doesn't work like that. Materially, that's how we progress, but not spiritually. So it's a different system. Does that make sense? It may sound
Yeah.
a bit confusing.
I mean, yeah, yeah, we cannot, because I think we previously have said that we have limitations, limited, all those things, four qualities: under illusion, cheating propensity, and not imperfect senses.
Yes, yes, and we make mistakes. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it takes, and you can see that you can't do much. I mean, material world, you cannot control too many things. You can see that, you want to control everything, but still you can't.
yeah,
But to come to this level, probably we need to, somebody need to understand. I think what he needs, as you said, it makes, when we become humble,
yeah,
that's what he wants. Once you become humble and you ask him question, that's the start. That's the start. Then from he takes over, and then
yeah,
you have to have some kind of faith in there and continue that. And as we said, it's a science. You see the results. If you are awake enough, you see around yourself things popping up and coming up. Things. If you can't see it, then you will go back to where you were. I mean, but if you see things coming and changing things around you, and
mm,
then it increases to
yeah,
the, and as you said, there's a bhakti, ruchi, and then love, and all those stages,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So I mean, so I think a little bit of effort from our side is, but once the first start is humbling, yeah, and
yeah,
we all get humbled by him, and then we come to him. I think, yeah, that's most of the
yeah,
time, 90% of the time,
yeah,
we
yeah,
humble and look for, when we don't have anything, we are in the corner, then we
yeah,
look for somewhere else, and that's when he starts. Okay, now he's right, and let's
yeah,
give him more. Oh, he's
yeah,
helping all, but he
yeah,
becomes more merciful once you go. Okay, I cannot control anything. It's up to you. Then everyone big. So I mean, that's the stage. I mean, and the
yeah,
whole this world, I think, is for that. Break our, through our false pride, and make you understand you're nothing. You're dependent. You're controlled.
yeah,
You need to understand you're part of something. You need to behave as a part, not as the whole machine. If
yeah,
you're part of the machine, you do your work. You're not the whole machine. You can't control the whole machine. You just
yeah,
do your. So that's where.
yeah, yeah,
So yes, I mean, totally 100%. Once we become humble
yeah,
and go back to him, he is special mercy after that. He'll create things. Well, he's still doing it. I mean, if you don't go to him, he's trying to remind us. Break of suffering is, I say, is like blessing. It just
yeah,
pushes into a corner, and then you think about that. So
yes,
it's so good. I mean, we look at it. That's that. Why it's happening to me? Why happening to that person? Small boy died. But it's all his plan. It's all. It's we cannot understand, as you said. We cannot
yeah,
understand what he's doing. So you
yeah,
just surrender. That's the one,
yeah,
I think. But the
yeah.
first part is
Do
difficult,
you
definitely.
remember the story we told a few times of the Brahmana and the cobbler? Brahmana and the cobbler?
Oh yeah, yeah. I think yeah, yeah. It said go to Vishnu or something, and then ask him a question. Ask both of them a question or something. That was the
Yeah,
one.
so Vishnu or Narayan sent Narada Muni to
Yeah.
go to the material world to a Brahmana who was a devotee, he was a Brahmana, and another devotee was a cobbler.
Mm.
So, and he said, when they ask, what is Narayan doing in Vaikuntha, you tell them he's putting an elephant through the eye of a needle. And so he went to the Brahmana, and the Brahmana said, "Oh, Naradaji, you must have come from Vaikuntha. What is Narayan doing there?" He said, "Put an elephant through the needle." He said, "What? Come on, give us a break. That's ridiculous. That can't be possible." So he didn't have faith in that. He thought it
Mm.
was like ridiculous. And then Narada went to the cobbler, and oh, Narayan. I mean, sorry, Naradaji. You must have come from Vaikuntha. What is Narayan doing there? Oh, he's putting elephant through the eye of a needle. And he said, oh, just see how wonderful is my Lord. And Narada said, how can you believe that?
Mm.
And he said that, well, I see so many inconceivable things, Achincha, uh, like miracles all around me. Like he
Mm.
said, just like this one, um, banyan seed, a seed from a banyan tree. This tiny seed, the whole tree is inside the seed. Not only the tree is inside the seed, but also all that millions of seeds. Each tree has millions of seeds, and all that information, everything is that energy is inside one seed. So he said, even within this world right around me is so many things that I cannot understand. But it's there, but I can't understand it. So what to speak of my Lord, who is the source of all these energies? So even that, well, the point is, even the energies we can't understand. What to speak of the source of all the energies? So he could humbly accept that there's a lot I don't understand. Forget about God, I don't understand. Even around me, I don't understand. Do you know how your brain works? Do you know how your heart works? Do you know how all the blood gets pumped around your body? Do you know how Prabhupada said once, do you understand how the fingernail is growing out of your hand? The fingernail is like just dead, isn't it? You can't feel anything. But if you just go a little bit on the skin, then immediately you feel pain or whatever like that. But how does this like dead fingernail growing out of the skin? And you cut it and it grows back again. How does that work? Or how does the hair? Do you know how the hair comes out of your head? Like that. So there's so many things we don't know, you know. So in that way, he was very humble, but the Brahmana was very proud. Oh, I have never seen an elephant being put through a needle. I haven't seen that. But the point is, what is your seeing? Your seeing is useless seeing. You know, how much have you seen? Have you seen everything? No, we see only a little bit like that. Even now, like here, it's dark. I can't see anything outside like that. So what can we see? Hardly anything we can see. So the thing is, the Brahmana was proud, and the cobbler was very humble. And then at the end of the story is that Narada went back and he told what was the reaction. And then Narada said, when these devotees are going to come back to Godhead? Narayan said the Brahmana will come back to Godhead after many, many lives. And the cobbler, he will come back to Godhead in this life. So you see the importance of that, you know, being humble versus proud. If you're proud, you're going to have to come many times to change your attitude. Because, you know, you don't have any faith. It was like that. Like the Brahmin didn't have any faith in the Lord's power and his energies and everything like that. Whereas the cobbler, you know, he had so much faith that God can do anything, you know, like that. So what the cobbler, even though he's a very humble job, you know, cobbler means he's cutting up the leather from the dead cows, like that, making shoes and so forth. And the Brahmana is teaching the Vedas and everything. But the cobbler is going back to Godhead this life, and the Brahmana many, many lives, because the attitude is, you know, one has a good attitude, one doesn't. So the attitude is more important than what your position in society is, whether you're the pujari or the street cleaner or whatever like that. But how much faith do you have like that? So that's an interesting, valuable lesson for us, and the importance of humility, and also the detrimental effect of having pride is very is keeping us in the world. You know, if we become proud, we have to be very careful.
I think it is the whole purpose of this world is to break our, false pride. That's the whole thing. I think this is false. And everything it's created like this, that it make us humble, humble, humble. That's the whole purpose. I think there was a joke or something. Birbal, one of the king, he was a king. Was a was like Chanakya. He's a mantri of Akbar.
Yeah, yeah.
And he
Birbal.
was
Yeah,
sent to another country, so
yeah,
send us, the smartest guy. And
yeah.
when he went there, he asked him a question: what does God eat? So Birbal said, God feeds on our false ego, false pride.
Mm,
And that's what it is. I mean,
yeah,
that's why we are here. He wants to break that.
yeah,
Eating means breaking it and making
yeah,
it. But
yeah,
I think the more, but it's very, yeah, it's very difficult to get out of that. And the false ego, it's
yeah.
ingrained. I mean, it's just you try, but yeah, it's like. And the other thing I was thinking is that why we have false pride, or why we have the false ego, is because we think we are separate from everyone else. That also creates some kind of thing, because when you think
Mm,
Abhay Prabhu is different than me,
mm,
then you think about, I, then comes the I and me. But if
yeah,
you think you're part and parcel of same thing, if you
yeah.
somehow make your mind think that you are just,
Mm.
I am and Abhay Prabhu is no different, we are the
Yeah,
same, then
yeah.
there is no,
And then that's the real oneness. The real oneness
yeah,
is not that we're physically one, but
yeah,
just that mood that we all come from the same source. And that
mm,
way we're all equal.
yes,
That there's equality there. That's a quality there. That Krishna is our father and we're all the children. So we're all part and parcel of the same whole. And that way there's equality there. But still variety. It's not that the variety is lost, because that's where the Mayavadi goes wrong, that we're all one, but without any variety, that we've all merged. But the Vaishnava philosophy, we have kept the variety, but there's
mm,
equality there because we all see that we're part of the same whole. We're all part and parcel of Krishna, and he loves everyone equally, and we should also have that vision as well.
yeah.
Okay, let's look at 205. Tamatvatmajam avyaktam martyalingam madhoksajam gopiko lukale damna babandha prakritam yata.
Although Krishna is beyond sense perception and is unmanifest to human beings, he takes up the guise of a human being with a material body. Thus, Mother Yashoda thought him to be her son, and she bound Lord Krishna with a rope to a wooden mortar, as if he were an ordinary child.
Hmm. So yeah, Mother showed us thinking Krishna's an ordinary child. She had so much love for Krishna. That's all she thought about day and night.
Mm.
So not that she's thinking Krishna's like ordinary as in not ordinary in the sense that she doesn't really care about Krishna, but means that, just like
He's first my son, that's it. It doesn't
yeah,
matter.
he's my child. Just like you have children, I have children, so we don't think that they're demigods or God or anything. They're just children. But we love them, we love them completely like that. So she loved her Krishna as just an ordinary child, but not that he's ordinary, but just that she's not thinking he's a demigod or God or anything like that. But just something to clarify there, it says here, he takes up the guise of a human being with a material body. So this is not saying that Krishna has a material body. Actually, Krishna's body is spiritual. He's spiritual in the spiritual world. And when he comes to the material world, he comes in the same spiritual body. And that's declared also in the Bhagavad Gita and many places in the Bhagavatam. that Krishna comes to the material world in a spirit, in his original spiritual body. So this isn't saying that he has a material body, but it's like that. It's like that. It's just like that. So he takes up the guise, like it's saying here. He takes up the guise of a human being, like we use the word disguise, so he's disguised just like a ordinary human being. But and we know he didn't have a material body, because if you had a material body, you can't lift a mountain for 7 days with one finger, and you can't expand your body to be with 16,000 wives and all this kind of thing. And you can't kill big demons like Kamsa and Putana and everything like that. So there's so much evidence that he didn't have a material body. But this is just pointing out that, many of his pastimes, he did things that an ordinary child would do. Like an ordinary child might steal, right? Like a little kids, they often steal things, and they're naughty, like it's saying here in the purport. He was playing like a naughty boy, stealing butter and breaking butter pots. And actually, just before, Gianty was saying that this boy that came to stay with us for a couple of days, he's 23 now, but when he was a little kid, Gianty's sister would look after him sometimes when her parents were busy, and she would look after him sometimes when he was a little kid. And one time he locked himself in their bathroom, and he stayed there for a long period of time, and her sister was wondering, what the hell is he doing in there, and knocking on the door, and he keeps saying, I'm coming, and eventually she had to force him that you open the door, otherwise I'm going to get really angry. And so he'd been mucking around with the washing machine in the bathroom, and he did some damage like that. So he's naughty like that. So that's what kids are. They're, especially boys, famous for being very naughty. So Krishna was just acting like that, like a very naughty, like a very naughty boy. But it's not that he was an ordinary naughty boy, but he's acting he's in disguise. He's in the guise of a naughty boy. And Mother Yashoda was enjoying that. She was enjoying, that her child's naughtiness. Or ordinarily, of course, we might not enjoy if the child is naughty. We might get upset or whatever. But this is the difference also with God, that even when God is being naughty, the result is that everyone is happy. That is also indicating that Krishna is different than us. Like if we kill someone in the material world, then generally no one's going to be happy, right? And obviously the person that's being killed is not happy, and other people are also not happy that someone's been killed. But when Krishna kills someone, that person that's killed, their soul gets benefited, right? They get liberated, they get moksha mukti, being killed by God. And other people that seeing that person being killed by God, they also are happy. So you can see the difference. I'll give you an example. God came as Nrsingadev. He killed Hiranyakashipu and in front of his son. So the father was killed in front of the son. Ordinarily, is the son going to be happy to see the father killed in front of him? No. But when Hiranyakashipu was killed in front of his son, Prahlad was happy. In fact, after Nrsingadev killed his father, Prahlad put a garland over the neck of Nrsingadev. That's how happy he was. And all the demigods that were watching were happy. And so that's the difference. That even if God comes to the world and he acts like an ordinary boy, or if he kills someone or does some ordinary things that we do, but it has a completely different result because God's nature is Satchitananda. His nature is bliss. Whatever way he deals with us, the result is just Ananda. It's bliss. I mean, it's a big subject, but that's just a little bit. We've sort of run out of time, but
Yeah,
what do you think about that? Does that make sense? Do you have anything you want to say?
definitely. See, he's the creator. He knows what is right, so he's always doing right things. That's
Mm.
my opinion on it. Yeah, but as you said, his leelas. It's he does all the leelas to make us understand different stuff. Yeah, that's yeah. I mean, yeah, that's we can. He for others it might be for mother it might be ordinary child, but it's all yeah. He as you said he want to enjoy everything, all the relationships as well.
Yeah.
So in spiritual world or a spiritual world, he wants to enjoy the relationships or variety. So he's enjoying here as well and there, up there as well. So just and teaching us or trying to teach us something, yeah, because we are too proud, too puffed up. So yeah, it's just yeah,
Yeah.
so, yeah. I mean, he can do anything. So it's like
Yeah. But the interesting thing is that he might do the same thing as we do, like being naughty or killing someone or whatever, but the opposite result. Where our actions bring suffering to ourselves and others, but his actions always result in bliss.
because he
So
knows how to
that's
do it.
yeah, and that's because also he has the unlimited gyan, the knowledge.
Yeah, that's right.
What's good for
Mm,
everyone. He knows that.
mm,
So whatever the Krishna does, it's called all auspicious. All auspicious. And that's one of the characteristics of bhakti, is that that's all auspicious. So God is all auspicious, the devotee is all auspicious, and the process of bhakti is all auspicious. Auspicious means good. All auspicious means good for everyone.
mm.
So it's good for everyone. Whatever the Lord does, whatever the devotee does, whatever devotional service is being carried out, performed, it's good for everyone. It's good for everyone. So, and although it might seem similar to some ordinary material activity, but yeah, it gives a very different result, such a better result.
Yeah,
Mm.
I agree. Mm. Yeah. That's, and I was listening to other. I mean, I was listening to something in YouTube, and there's a very interesting thing about Jainism. So I'm trying to understand was that the point we said we cannot know everything. We have limitations. So
Yeah.
somebody gave an example of very beautifully. So in Jainism as well, if they say that you
And
can
what? And
in Jainism, the Jain.
Jainism. Yep, gotcha. Yep.
So in that, what they say is there's so many things you can never know everything. So the person gave an example that there's a cup on the table. You're sitting on the other side, somebody is sitting on the left and east and west and everything. They're looking at the same cup, but their perception is different of the cup. On this side, I can see there is a handle or it's slightly chipped or something. The other side is
Mm.
looking at this. So what they are trying to say, you cannot know everything. It's basically the
Mm.
truth for me is what I'm seeing in front of
Yeah.
me. And the
Yeah.
person who's looking from that side is looking. So it depends on your truth can be different at any point of time, Des Patra, Kal, where you're
Yep.
positioned
Yep.
and
Yep.
time and all those things. But that
Yep.
point reiterated that you cannot know everything. And the
Mm.
only mercy of the God, I mean, He will
Mm.
let you know. As I think 10:10 does that, what 10:10 of Bhagavad Gita
Yep.
says,
Yep.
I'll give you the
Yep.
intent to
Yes.
understand.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, but I was just listening to that appeal me. I said, it's like we I mean, I personally what I think is if I'm looking at this side, I'll think that cup is always like this. So I'm going to tell the other person as well, the cup is like this, man, because I have looked at it and I'm putting my understanding to his,
Yeah.
but he's looking
Yeah.
from different angle. He's saying, no, no, no,
Yeah.
cup is not. So that's what we do in real life. We're looking at,
Yeah.
we are putting what we believe.
Yeah.
We're making a, for us that is truth, and we try to tell another, because but he's, and everyone has a different angle at looking things, but
Yeah.
God has the
Yeah.
one way of looking at it. That's where we are trying to learn that, this universal way of looking at it
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
understand it. And yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Nice
so
example. Nice
yeah,
example. Yeah.
yeah.
Seeing the cup from different places.
I was like, oh wow. And the other thing is, they said, I mean, I I think these are all just different, Jainism or anything else. They have just taken a part of it and
Mm,
interpreted it a different way. That's
mm,
that's all. I mean, it might be a limited stuff taken out, but and create a process around it. Same, everyone is looking at like this, so they have created that angle, that
mm,
process, that is perspective, but
mm.
everything is ultimately same, whether you're any religion or anything, somehow.
I mean, I'd be careful about saying it's the same because, like, I mean, it is a variety. There's a variety, but I would say it all has a, a part to play in the ultimate in the ultimate objective and finding the ultimate objective. It's all has, steps on a rung on the ladder. So the different rungs on the ladder. So it has definitely has a part to play. There's a reason why that process is there. But I wouldn't say they're all the same.
Yeah,
But I
process.
mean, like there's many different levels of education, and you can't really say primary and secondary, tertiary, and postgraduate's all the same. It's different, but it's all part of the whole education. It's all part of the whole
Yeah,
education. One is the beginning stage, and there's a middle stage and an end stage, and like that. So, but it's all part of the whole education.
but ultimate aim of all that is same. I mean, whether you are becoming a doctor, whether you became
Yeah,
an engineer, whether you are cleaning a toilet, the main purpose of everything is to earn money, for this body. Basically, you're doing it for the body. So
yeah.
I think the main purpose is same. The only thing is the processes are different. But as you said, there may be some advance, some little bit advance, and that's
Mm.
again looking at the cup. Where you're looking at the cup from. So
Yeah, yeah, yes, yes.
yeah, so
Yeah,
but yeah, there can be some up and down, I think. But yeah, but at the end of it, we are looking at the cup from different angles. That's it. But the process is same, and the main aim is same. To understand, to break that, to be humble. I think that's the primary humble, and
yes,
then your
yeah,
position, to understand about yourself, where you actually are, not live
yeah,
in illusion that
yeah,
you are, because you are changing the world. I'm going to do it by myself and all those things.
yeah,
That's basically the, as you said. I mean, humbleness
yeah,
is in every religion or everything. But anyway, I
yeah,
mean, these are processes, so it's,
yeah,
and
yeah.
on situations and place
But
time.
like what we're reading in this section, that it's given here that the to reach the topmost place where the original form of God is existing, you have to be on that Kevala platform, that pure love. So, and that's not the same as that Aishwarya Jnana Mishra. There's
Mm.
even distinguishing there between these two different moods of pure attraction and attraction mixed with knowledge of his opulence as God, position as God. So even there, there's a separation or distinction there. That Kevala is more higher. But that Aishwarya Jnana also has a place. It also has a place. But the Kevala is more higher. And so it's important to see those different facets. It's like seen the cup with the handle or the cup without the handle, you know, and the chip. One's seeing the chip and without the chip. So yeah, it's all there. It's all part of the object. But yeah, it's
Yeah,
definitely.
I mean, I think yeah, it's all good. I think yeah, that's
If
what
you
it
if you yeah
is.
if you don't see the handle, you won't be able to pick up the cup.
Well,
So-
it depends on how you can hold it. I mean, yeah, but that's like it's if you don't give somebody handle, they will pick up from the hand or the other way. But that's what I'm trying to say, that
yeah.
or everybody understand there's a process.
Mm.
It process is different, but the aim is same. I think aim is same. The processes are different, and yes, of course. I mean, it's what I have understood from this is more detail in there because I'm studying it. I haven't studied Christianity or Jainism in detail, so I can't
Yeah.
say anything about that. So, but I can see that. But there's a
But see,
universal.
the thing is, what we would understand is that Jainism and Christianity and yoga and jnana, everything is within bhakti.
It's like different stages.
But
You
but we wouldn't say that everything that's here within bhakti, that's not within Jainism. That's all that this whole completeness of this bhakti yoga system, Vaishnava philosophy, that's all of that's not within Christianity. It's not within Muslim. It's not within Buddhism. But everything that's in Buddhism, Christianity, Muslim, Jainism, it's within this system. You know what I'm saying? You know, like primary school, secondary school, it's inside of tertiary. But tertiary and postgraduate is not inside primary school. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
You
So
know,
you're
like $10, $100, $1,000 is inside of $1,000,000. But $1,000,000 is not inside of $10, $100, $1,000. You know what I'm saying?
you're
So
saying, yeah, I understand that. Okay, so you're saying that Sanatan Dharma is complete
yeah,
understanding, and others
yeah.
are intermediate understandings, or
Yeah, it's like you have a thousand-piece jigsaw puzzle. So the Bhakti Yoga system is like thousand pieces. But another one will be one piece, 10 piece, 100 piece, 500 pieces, 750 pieces. You know, so they have different level of realization, knowledge, and the realization that goes with it. So, but even within the Bhakti Yoga system, there will be devotees that know that have 1% realization of it, 10%, 15%, 25%, 50%, 70. So you've even got different levels. And that's like we're reading here. That Mother Yashoda, she's on a higher level than Rukmini. They're both bhakti yogis. They're both bhakti yogis. But Mother Yashoda's position as Kevala is more higher than like on that Aishwarya Jnana, Dasya, servant in Vaikuntha serving Narayan. So Yashoda's position is more.
it's more close? Yeah, I mean, it's more close to, yeah, I mean, close, and I
Yeah.
mean that's what it is. Kevala is more, you're more close to it, and yeah, it's pure based on the relationship. But yeah, no, that I understand that totally. Yeah, so I think yeah,
And that's not right or wrong. It's just
yeah,
different. And Krishna wants that. Krishna wants to have all those, like I said, different relationships or whatever. And for that particular person serving Lakshmi Narayan, there's nothing wrong with that. That's perfect for him. That's
yeah,
perfect for him,
yeah.
like that. But it's
That's
still, you can't say it's the same. It's different.
yeah, I mean, processes are
So
different.
there are, yeah.
Say different, but the process is different. Yes, definitely yes. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, yeah, it's yeah, but I think yeah, I can understand that it's more detailed, more deeper. But that's what we are
Mm.
studying. I haven't studied Christianity or any other thing, but so I can't say. But that's what my initial impression was that. But yeah, it's got concepts are some concepts are similar. Some concepts are
Yeah. So that's right. You will find, once you understand the Bhakti Yoga system, you'll see that those same things that are in Bhakti Yoga, you'll see them elsewhere. You'll see some of it in Jainism, some of it in Buddhism and Christianity, Muslim, like that. And
yeah, definitely, yeah. It's just the processes are different, I think. But obviously, I mean, some are more detailed, obviously older, and some are relatively newer, so they are more probably adapted to the point when they were born. That, just like you have Sikhism, they have Guru Granth Sahib, they consider it as God, and it's like, because it's so complex. If you go into Sanatan Dharma, it's very complex. So I think that's my understanding. So Guru Nanak Sahib, what they did was he basically created a process based on basically the same principles. Not all of them
yeah.
probably, but same principle, make it simplified, and creating those qualities like seva and service and all those things, so that people who cannot understand all this, they have a simpler process, very simple. And that's what I think is under my understanding, that God sees that, okay, this is too complex, we need to, because these people are not that, nobody can understand 100% of it, let's create, based on something more simple, and yeah, which people can follow, and then that will raise them above, and slowly they might, go to other details as well. But I think to initially lift, I think simple processes helps, I think. But anyway, I mean, that's all good. I mean, that's anybody comes to anybody doing anything, remembering God from any angle is good.
Yeah. I mean, Bhakti means love for God, and love for God can be anywhere. And Christianity has love of God, Muslim has love of God. So wherever there's love of God, that is means bhakti. So we don't like an ISKCON or whatever, we don't own bhakti.
Yeah,
Bhakti is just
it's
in the
universal.
heart of every living thing. It's universal. But it's just we developing that bhakti more and more and more,
I think
and
it's
that's what
more.
it's saying, that Kevala has really developed it really like
Yeah.
intensely.
I mean, the details we have here
Yeah.
is probably quite detailed. I mean, it's
Yeah.
yeah. This I probably I don't understand other religions, but still, it's quite detailed. I mean, if you go into the details, if you somebody wants to go into the details of understanding, yes, definitely that kind of details here we have in there in our Vedas and all those um, scriptures. It's
Mm,
yeah, it's very deep knowledge, very
mm,
deep, and that's why people have simplified it, just make it so that people can just start at least at some point, maybe come to the sattva mode, sattvic mode or something,
yes.
and
Yeah.
then from there they can actually, go ahead and understand universality of, God. And yeah, I mean, yeah, it's all good, I think. As you said, all auspicious.
All the wishes.
Yeah.
To be with you again.
Oh,
It was
sorry about
lovely.
6:30.
No need
Thank
to be sorry. No, this is
you.
the highlight. This is the highlight.
Uh, yeah, I
That's
mean,
good.
sorry about discussing all this nonsense, but yeah, just
No, it's not
I wanted to,
nonsense. This is all
yeah,
good.
I was thinking, and